Under the Five Stars, by Blake Allow. In 1855, the continent felt like a powder keg waiting for a spark. The British Empire still clung to its colonies, but the countryside of New South Wales and Victoria had slipped from its grasp. Rebel banners fluttered over farmlands and mining towns, and the Australian Republican Army marched with a confidence that came only from momentum. Temple Banks and Thaddeus Field had been part of that momentum from the beginning. Temple, slim, quiet, and unnervingly precise, was known across the ranks as the best shot in the entire army. He carried his musket like an extension of his own arm, and the other soldiers swore he could hit a gum leaf at 100 paces. Thaddeus, meanwhile, was 5.5 feet of stubborn grit, compact, strong, and endlessly loyal. He had a way of grounding Temple's intensity with a simple joke or a steadying hand on the shoulder. They had fought side by side through skirmishes in the bush, ambushes along dusty roads, and tense standoffs in abandoned homesteads, but now they were marching toward something far larger. The Republican Army had split, one force pushing south toward Melbourne, the other, Temple and Thaddeus among them, heading for Sydney. The British had retreated into the coastal cities, fortifying them with whatever loyalists they could muster. Sydney, the jewel of the East, was expected to be the hardest nut to crack. Among the marching rebels was Henry Hughes, an 18-year-old with a boyish grin and a knack for asking too many questions. Temple had never quite trusted him, though he couldn't say why. Thaddeus, ever more forgiving, chalked it up to nerves. By the time the rebels reached the western outskirts of Sydney, the air felt electric. Smoke from distant chimneys drifted over the city, and the sound of British drums echoed faintly through the hills. The battle began at dawn. British regulars held the streets, reinforced by colonial volunteers still loyal to the Crown. Muskets cracked like thunder. Cannon fire shook the ground. The rebels surged forward with their newly purchased French muskets, sleek, reliable weapons that gave them a crucial edge. Temple moved through the chaos like a shadow, picking targets with calm precision. Thaddeus stayed close, musket braced, shouting warnings and encouragement in equal measure. The fighting was brutal, street by street, building by building, but the rebels refused to break. By midday, the British line faltered. By afternoon, it collapsed, and by sunset, the Republican flag rose over the western districts of Sydney. As the smoke cleared and the wounded were carried away, Temple spotted movement near the harbor. A British naval vessel was pulling away from the docks, sails catching the evening wind. On its deck, unmistakable even at a distance, stood Henry Hughes, no longer the nervous young recruit, but a man standing proudly among British officers. Thaddeus spat into the dirt. Knew something was off about him. Temple lowered his musket. He'll be someone else's problem now. The ship slipped toward the horizon, carrying the spy back to the Empire that had sent him. Behind Temple and Thaddeus, the Republican soldiers cheered their victory. Ahead of them lay the rest of Sydney, and beyond that, the uncertain future of a nation fighting to be born. But for the moment, the two friends stood together in the fading light, knowing they had helped turn the tide.